Welcome back everyone to theCUBE. We are here on the show floor of AWS Summit, New York City. Everybody's in town. We're here for the one-day spectacular event. You know, tens of thousands of people are here. Of course, it's a free event, but it really feels like a mini reInvent because there's so much has happened. We're at the midpoint of reInvent, but if you look at the first half of the year, it's been quite a slew of announcements, more regions, more CapEx, more product, AI infusing in all of AWS, and of course, it's theCUBE's Media Week for Cloud and AI at our New York Stock Exchange studio. We're featuring all the leaders, startups, and executives really driving the accelerated change of AI. David Nalley's here, Director of Developer Experience at AWS. This is the app dev meets DevOps meets the future of AI and agents, and the news here obviously is the Nova models with customization, and of course the AgentCore, and of course the marketplace has its own dedicated section which speaks to the massive growth in agentic and of course tooling. Agents and tooling. Tooling is a surprise win this year. MCP, tooling offsetting models, being more efficient with tokens. Top stories here in New York. David, thanks for coming back on theCUBE. Good to see you again.
Thank you for having me back. I'm kind of encouraged that you let me come back.
You're always a great, one of our mixture of experts as we call. You've been on in previous events, Open Source Summit, other things. A lot of action. You're seeing the cloud native community mature, continue to mature. CNCF, KubeCon, platform engineering, DevSecOps, as we know, love, open source, driving away. But now the app layer and the AI stack portion is evolving super fast. News here is just phenomenal. Deepak and his team's been working around the clock. Looks like he hasn't slept in 10 zillion weeks.
There's been a lot of sleepless nights for him and his team.
Yeah, a lot of news. So give us your take, because now developer experience is totally changing. Just on the marketplace announcement alone surpassed the record. I think was the SaaS page. Hundreds of big names in the agentic section and tools for marketplace showing real activity, real product hitting the agentic wave.
Yeah, I think in many ways what you're seeing is an indication that agents are really transforming the way we think of software, the way we think of technology. And what you're also seeing is that a lot of the companies that you would traditionally think of as software companies are leveraging their expertise in the problem areas that they try and solve. Because generally we build software to solve problems. They're able to leverage their expertise that made them great software companies into building agents that help people solve and automate their problems away. And I'm really excited by what I'm seeing there. It's early days, but you know, people are actually finding a lot of value in being able to drive automating a lot of that toil away with agent.
You know, well, David, one of the things I want to chat with you about is just the overall developer kind of world right now. You got vibe coding, which turns into now production code with Kiro, all right? So that's killer. But if you look at what's happened in some of the successes, there's a lot of organic activity driving the woodwork. Like for example, customers are now leaning in and giving product recommendations into the coding tools because they have needs. I covered with Matt Garman on our halftime report that led into this event, the success of Strands, right? Which was an accident, a good accident. It was a developers building tool on Deepak's team to solve something else, which turns out to be a killer product. There's these silent moments that turn out to be high impact. Like Lambda was like one of those. Like, and no one really talked about it. Oh, only the insiders knew how good it was. But then the impact. Now everyone's using that. So like Strands was one. MCP, the rise of MCP protocol.
Yep.
Very important in this wave because protocols make things work. So these are organic activities, not some top-down.
You know, so I think developers, when they're at their best, and this is absolutely aspirational, right? But developers, when they're at their best, are not building things, they're solving problems. And Strands was built internally for AWS to solve problems internally. We realized, wow, I bet everyone else has this problem. And the response to Strands has been amazing because it solves a problem really elegantly. And I think that, you know, at at their pinnacle, a developer is solving a problem, and it's not make work. It's there's an interesting, hopefully elegant way to take care of this problem, to come up with a solution. And I think that's the value a developer actually brings to a business. It's not the I can write 500 lines of code an hour. It's I can think about how a business problem impacts us, and I can work on solving it. Or I can think about a technical problem and figure out how we can drive value faster. And that's, a lot of people are pretty dismal in their outlook on what things like vibe coding mean for software developers. And I actually think it's going to make us more valuable.
Yeah.
Because the actual value comes in thinking about and working on solving problems, whether they be technical or business problems, in an elegant technological fashion.
I like how you brought up technical and business, because one of the things that's coming out of some of the agent and also the AI work is that a lot of the formulation around identifying problems is coming from the business side, because we're in the middle of a business transformation wave as well as an ongoing tech transformation. We've already had that digital transformation tech transformation, but it's now more acute because the AI infrastructure is now democratizing supercomputing. I mean, opening up more compute, that's opening up more horsepower for data, right? Okay, we love that story. I mean, that's a CUBE wheelhouse. But then now on the business model side, where the business logic is the data, executives saying we can transform our business. So now that just asks a different question. What problems do we want to solve there that are opportunities? That's where the action goes. I love this problem-solving angle, because the creativity of the art of coding was to solve a problem, and code is objective. It doesn't. There's no bias. You either have it or you don't. It's like it's what it is. We could disagree on a design doc and a line, but then when you write the code, it's definitive.
Right.
So like you get faster action.
Well, I think that's at the crux of things. I think if you think that a developer's job is to write code, you're probably short-sighted, or you're not getting the actual value of the developer. The thing that I think made folks like Stephen O'Grady describe developers as the new kingmakers wasn't that they could understand and read and write code. It was that they could translate a problem, they could find a solution, and then they could use technology to solve it.
Yeah.
And, almost a little bit of alchemy there, right? Where you can take this problem or this opportunity, solve for it, and drive a ton of value to the business or to a human.
What's interesting is that I do so many CUBE interviews, and I love this market because it's like, I'm old school, but I'm kind of love a teenager at heart. I'm always curious. I love this because it's so much fun to get involved. Tech teenagers, the saying goes. I think you guys coined that term inside Amazon. One of your folks mentioned to me. But the conversation really is, I hear a quote like, it feels like the 90s again. That's from people who have lived through the 90s, the infrastructure wave. So there's a lot of that going on. Enterprise is certainly hot. And it's interesting, the enterprise is hot before the consumer side. And I think the consumer is going to lag the enterprise. We're seeing signs of consumer waves coming. So you have a systems revolution happening, and then you have young and talented creative people coming in with AI. So the alchemy of talent is binding. It's not like, you've aged out. No, I went through the systems revolution. I mean, I know a lot about systems. I mean, by my degree. So, but I haven't coded in 25 years. Well, hello, vibe coding.
Right.
Now, what I love about Kiro is that where I was vibe coding, where I kind of abandoned, it actually now offers me the kinds of steps with agentic that will allow me to follow through on stuff that would have been harder for me. Get the webhook, get the hooks in there, get the API, so that it will go in and do, and actually collaborate, build design docs, other things that were like a product manager would do.
Yeah.
Like all with identity, all with all the heavy lifting under the covers. That's a game changer in my mind.
I think the real story for Kiro for me is, yes, it will let me, it will work me through a structure so that we have a well-defined requirements doc, we have a design doc, we have a task list, but then those are saved as markdown files, which means I can put those in my code repository, which means other people who are looking, their tools, whether it's Kiro or not, can also understand what we're trying to build, the steps that are needed, and multiple people can start working together. Now, I think, I told some other folks earlier today that when I first heard about the idea of Kiro, I kind of rolled my eyes. And I'm like, I told Deepak, what are you really going to build here? Because it can't just be another same thing that's already out there, because the market's flooded with it.
Yeah.
And, he talked about spec-driven development, and I'm like, I don't know that that's a thing. Until I actually put my hands on it, I was really a skeptic and didn't know if I was going to believe in it.
Yeah.
I'm blown away. And, it's transformative, and it's really, I have lots of, for better or worse, I have lots of meetings, which means my development time gets broken up a lot.
Yeah.
And the structure that Kiro has added to that process means that it's not just fire and forget development.
Yeah.
It's actually, there's a process, and Kiro will keep up with that process, even if you have to walk away for a couple of hours or a couple of days.
And that'll help the abandonment. This is about abandonment, right? Indifference. I'm busy. I'll take the kids there. I'm tired. Take a nap. I mean, that's my moral, because I'm meeting. So again, to your point, it's right there.
Right.
It really is an assistant. All right, I got to ask about the MCP, because I think MCP is probably one of the biggest surprises of the year for me, in a good way, because it was a rallying moment around people saying, let's just do this, okay? Let's get this protocol. Models are there. That's one surprise. I want to get your reaction. That Strands, I didn't even know it was coming. That was a surprise. Like, oh, that's a good story. And it's instructive, but MCP was really community-oriented, really kind of shows solidarity around, let's go faster. We just agree, salute the de facto flag, whatever. And then the other surprise was the fact that tooling technology is emerging super fast around models to make tokens more valuable, because the tokens is the premium item and reasoning's coming on. So as a developer, I have that bedrock layer of maybe configuring, managing the models in a way that maximizes my token efficiency.
Yeah.
Because cost is a problem. Why would I want to ask a model what math equations I could do with a compute engine?
Right.
So you have this, that's weird, but it makes sense when you go, whoa, why waste a token on that?
Yeah.
So you have all these situations where now engineering things are different. Now, going back to the old school, when I was in college, the degree was software engineering. The word engineering was in there. DevOps has an engineering vibe. So I think, to your point about problem solving, what does that even mean? You're engineering a solution, solving a problem. You're not just developing. Developing means I'm coding, I'm building, I'm developer, builder. Okay, I buy that. But I think there's an engineering art here. I think DeepSeek is a good sign. What's your reaction to that? Do you feel that same experience? You feel like we're in this kind of we're building and engineering things in a way that's systematic, systems oriented, or is that just a little bit over my bias?
I think we're definitely having a forcing function around. We're having a forcing function around needing to have systems in place. The scale dictates it really quickly. And I look at MCP, and MCP reminds me a lot of the Unix philosophy, right? One tool with one job that's pretty simple and does it well. And MCP reminds me a lot of that. It's agent to tool. That's what the protocol's focused on. Will it expand at some point, do other things, maybe? Yeah. But it's focused around solving one thing, and it's a simple, elegant fix. I think that makes a lot of people pretty happy, because they see this tool that's really eminently useful. And much like a lot of the tools in Unix, I think that people are using them in strange ways. I don't know how many MCP servers you load up when you start your various Gen AI tools, but I found that I've now got this catalog of MCP servers because there's so much use that really gives me another level of functionality atop what the model was able to do. I will confess that I'm using QCLI with an MCP server for Outlook to help manage my mail. And one of the tasks that I had it do was go look at all of my sent mail and write a prompt for me, context for me for how I author messages, so that if I give you something to write, you can rewrite it in my style. And, that is, I would have had to have gone and manually collected all of that data to then put it in to create that. I have an MCP server and I'm like, hey, just go look at the sent folder, look at all of my writing and figure out how to tell me how to write like myself.
How'd that go? Good?
Oh, it's amazing. Yeah, it's amazing. And it saves a lot of time. One of the things that happens a lot is I get a lot of emails that I'm expected to send out. And I look at them and I'm like, that does not sound like me. That doesn't sound authentic.
Yeah.
I don't know that I would ever say critical strategic alignment. That's not.
Yeah, that's not your linguistic mode.
Right.
Yeah.
And so
that's a piece of no.
it's doing a good job of taking that content, rewriting it in my style. That's not me saying anything that I wouldn't agree with, but it's just making sure
you're
that my
grounding it with your signature touch.
Absolutely.
So you can communicate effectively.
Which, in the old days, I wouldn't have sent it out anyway. I would have rewritten it myself.
Yeah.
But, the fascinating part is not that it rewrites, but that it was able to go look at all of my sent messages without me doing any work. So MCP powered that. Yeah. There's a lot of MCP servers for accessing documentation. And accessing a number of services to actually give you data from what's going on rather than having to rely on the model for that.
All right, talk about your job. I know you have a really awesome job. It's super busy. You're doing a lot of developer work. There's a high discovery market right now for content. People are looking at peers. There's a lot of collaboration, a lot of trust being built, new relationships forming. I'll use the word replatforming in quotes, but I'm going to say that. But that a lot of people are thinking, okay, I got to get my hands on this. I got to learn. I got to be curious. Be that teenager. Mm-hmm. Even though we're not in the AI native world, but like you can still stay in it by being relevant. So you're seeing a lot of people jumping in and playing around. Yeah. So what's your focus right now? What are you optimizing for? And if you got events coming up, I know you got an MCP event in New York City, put a plug in for that. So what are you optimizing for? What's some of the focus, and put a plug in for your events?
Yeah, so, we've got a lot of focus right now on just experimenting. Things are changing so fast and you need time to understand what's happening, what's new and interesting. We're spending a lot of time with MCP, and I don't think that's any shock. I think everybody is spending a lot of time on MCP. We're working on an MCP Dev Summit in London. There's another MCP community event that's happening in New York that we're getting involved with, and so there's a lot of activity here. People want to understand it. They want to build their own MCP servers.
Yeah.
And so lots of experimentation going there. I've got folks on my team who are trying to set the bar on, what should that look like? Yeah. For instance, there's this, and I guess I just confessed to it. There's this, what I think of as an anti-pattern in MCP usage right now, which is a local MCP server.
Yeah.
I really don't think that was ever intended to exist. But we've worked around it we're using MCP servers because we don't have things like authorization or delegation of identity figured out. And so we say, oh, well, if it's running on my machine, it essentially runs as me, and anything I can do, the agent or the model can do. And so I think in many ways we're right now we're using MCP MCP in that way by doing a lot of local things.
Delegation is trust. That's basically a trust issue.
Right, exactly. And you know, whether that should be or not is a different story. I think, you know, I don't know if you saw in Swami's keynote today where they were talking about Bedrock's AgentCore, where a lot of those things around how do we store memory of what's happened previously so that we don't have to go and grab all of that context fresh. How do we figure out identity and authorization to systems? Because MCP is really designed to be a remote protocol, not something that you're running on your local machine.
Yeah.
And I think
so. State things of that nature become a challenge, right?
And one of the things that AWS is trying to do is trying to accelerate people to not have to reinvent that wheel with every single MCP server or every single agent. How do we figure out to let these agents behave in a way that is a common platform? So you're seeing AgentCore help with that. The Strands SDK. You know, one of the things we discovered is that people were doing a lot of reinventing the wheel every time they wanted to build an agent. And so when we built Strands originally internally, it was to solve some of that reinvention. I think that's one of the things I'm excited about is people saying, hey, where are the things that we're being repetitive? One of the best attributes that I think that developers have is being lazy.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that disparagingly.
That's a good thing because they want to work effectively.
Because then they want to automate it.
Yeah.
And so, you know, looking around the corners and seeing, hey, we're doing a lot of duplicate work here.
It's annoying actually to good engineers. Like, why
they
duplicate
don't. Yeah, they don't want to push the button 5 times when they can automate it. And so, you know, I think that's a key attribute in a good developer is wanting to automate it away so that you can. I don't. You know, that laziness of not wanting to have to turn the crank continuously.
I mean, it's a motivating thing. I mean, Jensen Huang would always say on stage, like, you know, I want to delay decisions because maybe they'll go away, meaning people will actually solve it.
Right.
So his lazy strategy is to force, hey, be smart.
Right.
Don't make it a crutch.
Yeah.
Make it efficient. David, so much to talk about. And again, congratulations on great product coming from the teams. It's really interesting, and I will say I did a little preview, halftime digital event. Matt, 10 executives, a tool came on, all the top people came on, and I got to say that AWS, and I'm not saying this because I'm biased. I love the cloud play that you guys always had from day one, but just the transformation of AWS internally with the past year and a half, at the size and scale of the company, has been pretty remarkable. Because I'm reading between the lines of all the messaging, it's the deliveries and the products.
Yeah.
I mean, the products that are shipping and the productivity, it's quite impressive, the speed.
Yeah, and you know, AWS and Amazon have long held that speed matters. And I think there's really this focus on, this is an exciting time. Things are changing every week. And if we're going to deliver value for our customers, we're going to have to do that fast.
Yeah.
And that's definitely a focus.
Well, I'm looking forward to doing more content with you. I know you've got a big agenda. You're putting out a lot of content. Market needs it. Just trying to look at what's relevant, what's real, what can I rely on? I want to save some time and reduce the steps it takes to do stuff.
Yeah.
And, you know, and get to more beer time, as one developer told me. I need to free up some beer time.
Yeah.
And when I asked about productivity.
Yeah, I'll toss one other plug out there. One of my colleagues, Jim Howitt, just released a blog post about how we think about developer productivity. And I think for many years, that's been how many pull requests do you submit or how many lines of code. And he's got a novel measure called cost to serve that he's worked with a number of Amazon scientists.
Really?
And so it looks at things like how much rework do you have to do? That's a factor into quality. How many changes are you delivering? How many new features are you delivering? Because that's one measure of value, but it has a number of tension metrics, because when we used to measure against lines of code, that would optimize you for certain things. So that's a great blog post. I'll send you a link to that.
Send it over. We got to roll, but thanks so much for coming on. Great to see you again. We're grateful for the work you do. And again, the community likes it as well. They need it, and thank you for coming on theCUBE.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
We're here. All the action is in New York this week. Today it's AWS Summit at the Javits, where AI is continuing to change the game. App devs going to agent dev, all that platform engineering investments in DevSecOps and cloud going next level. I'm John Furrier, doing our best to bring you the action, sharing that data with you. Thanks for watching.